It's the biggest week of the year for the stock market, with Apple, Microsoft, and Google all reporting earnings, the Fed interest rate decision, and the uncertainty with peace with Iran. This week is going to be nuts. In this video, I'm going to break down my favorite setups for this upcoming week. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so the first one is Alphabet. Alphabet is scheduled to report earnings after the bell on Wednesday. Analysts expect earnings to come in at $2.68, which is interesting because it represents a slight decrease year over year. The options market is pricing in a 4.5% move off of these earnings. What I care most about with these earnings is what the market cares about, and that's to see this massive capex spend in AI investment to start paying off. And we're going to see that with Google Cloud growth exceeding 50%. Now, interestingly, Wells Fargo is looking to see a 61% increase in Google Cloud growth. So the other thing to watch closely is CapEx spend. Management's guided $175 to $185 billion in CapEx spend this year for AI investment. The market's going to be looking closely at that, seeing if depreciation costs are having a drag on margins. So you got to pay attention to margin growth with these earnings. Now, I love this setup going into earnings. Friday's move brought it up within 0.25% of an all-time high. A beat on these earnings should send the stock going north into price discovery. And let me tell you, price discovery to the upside can be a lot of fun. Hey, before we continue, consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm new to YouTube, so I still get excited every time I get a new subscriber. Thanks in advance for that. Let's get on with the show. Okay, next up is Microsoft, which is also reporting earnings on Wednesday. Analysts expect $4.04 of earnings to come in, which represents about a 17% increase year over year. Similar to what we talked about with Google, analysts want to see growth in Copilot monetization. Azure cloud growth is projected at about 38%. Now, if Microsoft can demonstrate that AI workloads are sustaining high margin momentum, then this can really be a breakout moment for Microsoft. I like the setup in Microsoft stock flirting with resistance of about 425. It's got a couple gaps to fill above it and could move up to the 480 range. So the IGV had been running nicely for the last couple weeks until on Wednesday of this past week when ServiceNow and IBM reported earnings and it punked the market. So I'm not buying anything in advance of Wednesday's Microsoft earnings from a software perspective, but I'm going to look to play that on Thursday, either to the upside with Oracle or to the downside with CRM. So if positive report coming out of Microsoft is going to tell the market that the ServiceNow and IBM issues are on them, a negative report on Microsoft is going to say maybe we have something more systemic in the software industry. So if it's a positive report, I want to play the Oracle options because the gap that needs to be filled above the next resistance level is about 217 and just simply represents more of a risk reward ratio than Microsoft. So if Microsoft also punks earnings, then it's going to be lookout below. And the one that's bumping up against long-term support right now is CRM at about $178. Long-term support going back several years is $125. So it has a ways to go down to fill that void. So if Microsoft drops, then I'll be buying puts against CRM. Okay, so the third on the list is a technical play. Bitcoin has just recently broken out of a resistance level that goes back to 2024. And on the weekly chart, we have a MACD crossover from oversold territory, and the RSI is trending up from oversold as well. The way I'm going to be looking to play this Bitcoin rally, assuming it continues, is with Robinhood. Robinhood has recently bounced off of long-term support of around the mid-60s, and 2 weeks ago came all the way up and bounced off of long-term resistance of around 92. It's since come back a bit, closing last week at 84. I'll be looking for a push this coming week through that resistance of around 85, around 88 or so. And if we get a close above the previous wick, high wick, which was 2 weeks ago of 93.32, I'll be looking to enter Robinhood. Honestly, at this point, I'm just waiting for the break in Robinhood. If you take a Fibonacci extension on this, my long-term expectation, and I'm talking a couple years, but my long-term expectation on Robinhood is around $430. So I believe this has massive upside potential. And if this Bitcoin rally can continue, that could be the initial spark of a fire that's going to last for a couple years. Okay, that's my watch list for this week, summarized in the last 5 minutes. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit subscribe, like, comment, share, whatever you like to do. I very much appreciate that, and we'll see you in the next one.